So this will be in English, so I think I can start. I think that's what he said. First of all, welcome everyone. My name is Johannes. I hope it's okay to have this in English. Okay for everyone? Yeah. So I'm representing the company Lenzing here. For those of you who don't know, we are a producer of cellulosic fibers made from trees. Yeah, so we have also a small booth on the other side, so feel free to join us there, have a conversation. And today's presentation is around, or discussion is about circular fashion, dream or reality. Yeah? It's a bit of a special title because asking to the round here, has any one of you ever been part of a presentation about circularity? Anyone here? Nobody. So I have seen a lot of presentations and I've done a lot of presentations, and usually they are all very similar. Yeah? They start with some terrible photos about piles of waste and waste in the desert and so on, and we have a very big problem. That's usually how they start, and how they end usually is, we have the solution. We have the perfect solution to solve this problem. Yeah? And they're all the same usually. But I'm not going to do this today because that's not the reality. Yeah? The reality is that you can have the best story, you can have the perfect technical solution, but there is one factor which people usually don't talk about a lot, and this factor is cost. Yeah? It's cost. And there is a nice analogy that I like to start with. Yeah, where I live in Austria, there is a small car shop, so you bring your cars there when you have a repair to do. And there is a sign on the wall that says, this here, yeah? So, I'm reading it, yeah? We offer 3 kinds of services, good, cheap, and fast. But you can only choose 2 out of them, yeah? You can have a service that is good and cheap, but it won't be fast. You can also have a service that is fast and good quality, but it won't be cheap. Yeah? And when you bring your car to the repair, you can also have it really cheap and fast, but it won't be really good. Yeah, so it means you have to make choices, and you have to make choices in life in many different circumstances, and the same choices we also have to do for circular fashion or for recycled textiles. And how this looks like is this, right? You can have a good product, or that's what people want, a good product that is sustainable and also really cheap, but that product doesn't exist. Yeah, you can have a product that is good and sustainable, but it won't be cheap. You can have a product that is good and cheap, but this product won't be sustainable. And you can also have a product that is cheap and sustainable, but it's not going to be really good. It's not going to have the quality that you really need. And that's a dilemma that we are facing as an organization, but practically every company working in the recycling field, whether this is mechanical recycling or chemical recycling, whether this is about cellulosic fibers or oil-based fibers, everybody's facing the same problem. Yeah, and this part in the middle here is not real. There is no product like this. There is no product that is cheap, sustainable, and also meets quality expectations. So let's have a look into what those 3 things actually mean. Yeah, when we talk about a good product, we usually talk about things, it needs to have the perfect strength, like a virgin material. It needs to be durable. Yeah, it needs to last very long. It needs to have a great appearance. It shouldn't look different than a virgin product. It should be very comfortable. It should be soft. It shouldn't be harsh. Yeah, it should be the same all the time. When you buy one product, it should be the same as the product you bought last time. It needs to be uniform. Yeah. It also needs to be a product that the consumer understands. So that's what we talk, or that's what I mean when I talk about good. And having a product like this alone is already a hard thing to do. Yeah, but if you look at the other factors, sustainable. What does sustainable really mean? And it means something different for everyone. But what I mean with it, and this is maybe also not a complete definition, but what I mean with sustainable, it means you have to look at, are there any competing uses for the raw material you use? Yeah, think, for example, of the polyester industry. Are you competing for raw material that, for example, the bottling industry is using? Yeah. It also means water and energy consumption. Yeah, so for a product or for a recycled product to be sustainable, you need to make sure that it doesn't consume enormous amount of water and causes enormous amount of emissions, more than a virgin product. Yeah, you have to look at geographic distances. Do you want to ship waste from, one city to the next, from one country to the next, or from one continent to another continent? So it's all about geographic distances. You want to keep them very short. source verification. So you need to be able to verify the source of the material. You need to know where it comes from. You need to know what the source of this waste is. And part of that is also supply chain visibility. So in order to verify the source, you need to understand who created that waste. How did that waste travel from A to B to C to D to E in the textile industry? You also need certification and standards. Yeah, you need to have third-party proof that a certain product is actually recycled and not, just communicated as a recycled product. You also need to think about public reporting. Yeah? So an organization that publicly reports about their work and their effort and their benefit on the environment, that's what you need if you really want a sustainable product. Yeah? And last but not least, you have to think about end of life. Yeah? So what happens at the end of life of a certain product. And you need a product, if you really want a sustainable product, that doesn't cause any harm at the end of life when you're not using it anymore. Yeah, so and if you're looking for a product that meets all of those 16 factors, it's really hard to find such a product. It doesn't really exist, yeah? But the list goes on, because you also want to have it cheap. So what does cheap mean? What makes a cheap product, or what allows a product to be cheap? The raw material must be available at all time, yeah? Must be there. The acquisition cost for that raw material must be really low. The labor cost involved in developing this raw material, yeah? For example, for cutting out trims and zippers and so on, must be really low. Ideally, there is no labor cost involved. You shouldn't need any additional equipment. You shouldn't need any more R&D. The processing costs in the textile supply chain should be exactly the same as for a virgin product. The training needs, also for your workers, needs to be exactly the same. There shouldn't be more training involved. The production needs to be at scale. Yeah, so with a product, producing a few kilograms or tons, you will not achieve scale. You have to talk about tens of tons, thousands or hundreds of thousands or even 10,000s of tons. Yeah? Regulatory landscape. Yeah? For a product to be cheap, there must be regulatory support, meaning that when you bring a product to market, you actually have a benefit, or when you bring a virgin product to market, you also have some sort of disadvantage. Global distribution, so a product must be available globally. That makes a product also cheap. It's available all the time. You can get it whenever you want, wherever you want. It must be compatible to existing machinery in the textile supply chain. It needs to align with the production processes and also it needs to be a product that is accepted on the market. Yeah? Long story short, you have a lot of factors that you would need to meet to have a really good, sustainable, and also cheap product. And that's why this product is not real. That product doesn't exist. You have to make choices. Either you are a bit on the right side or you're on the left side, but you have to make choices. And if we have a look into what that means now in reality in terms of numbers, what we did is, as an example for the entire US market, we had a look at around 7 million individual retail items, yeah, in the apparel world. So we had a look into 7,200,000 roughly different products and looked what are those materials made of? What are those products made of? Yeah, and you can imagine what they are usually made of. Yeah, so those are some of the most, not all, but most of the fibers out there. And this is how it looks like. Right? So polyester is by far the number one, followed by cotton. Elastane is almost in every product. Polyamide, MMCF, so this is where Lenzing is. Wool, down, acrylic, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So this is how the market generally looks like. And we're not looking at what amount of fibers are out in the market, but if you pick a product in the market, any product, the chances is 1 out of 2 that it contains polyester. This is what the market looks like. Now, if you look at, how does it look like if you only look at recycled materials? Yeah, so first of all, out of these 7 million items, only around 4.6% contain any recycled material in any share. Yeah, that's where the state of the market is at the moment. And if you ask the question, what share of the overall 7 million products contain any sort of recycled material, this is how it looks like. Yeah, 7.3% of all products that we looked at contain recycled polyester. This is how it looks for the other fibers. Yeah. So what does it say? What does it say? Yeah? If you look at the largest fibers here, polyester, cotton, elastane, polyamide, how much of that is recycled right now? Then you see really the majority is coming from polyester, polyamide, even cotton, which is an enormously large industry. Cotton industry is some 25 million tons globally. Yeah, only a fraction of this is really appearing in clothes, in apparel items out in the market. And also if you look at products like polyester, polyamide, the question is always, where does this raw material come from? Does it come from textile products or does it come from other products? And very often it doesn't come from textile products. And if we look at this for the entire market, so we are now looking at those 300,000 items, this is where actually the recycled material is coming from. Yeah, so if you take together polyester, polyamide, this amounts to more than 80% of the entire recycled world. And there are some other good examples, like for example, wool above 1%, cotton already quite a lot in use, but it's only a fraction of the cotton that is out there. Yeah, so that's how it looks like today. And what I think we as an industry, as practitioners, need to think about and talk about more is that it's not going to be cheap. It's never going to be cheap. You have to make a choice, and in order to even develop this industry from where we are at the moment, we have to accept that the cost is going to be higher. Yeah, and you have a lot of companies out there, Lenzing, we are doing a lot of research, other companies are doing research, but it's not for free. Yeah, it will come at an extra cost for any industry, and I think that's a realization that we just simply have to do. Yeah, and what I did is, so as Lenzing, for those of you who don't know us, we try to have good relations along the entire textile supply chain. It means we work with our direct customers, the ones who make a yarn out of fiber. We work with woven mills, with knitting mills, with garment makers, with brands, retailers, consumers, to really try to explain our product, try to explain the challenges, try to explain the opportunities. And what I did is from those conversations write down some practical actions that can be taken right now, especially directed more to the brand and retail side. And one of those things that continues to come up in many conversations is about a product needs to have 20%, 30%, 40%, 50% recycling share to be a real recycled product. Yeah, anything below is not accepted in the market. And that's a problem, yeah, because more recycled share means more cost for the raw material, it means more challenges in processing, it means more R&D, it means eventually more cost. Yeah, so if our goal is really to reduce the waste, we shouldn't care so much about if the product has 5% or 10 or 20 or 50%. What matters is how much waste are we really saving from going to landfill or incineration or any other outlets. Yeah? So we want to reduce waste. We don't want to maximize the share of the waste in a particular product. Yeah, what we also recommend to the brands and retailers we work with is a lot of the products won't be circular right now. But if you choose your suppliers, choose the ones that are already really engaged and working and developing and innovating in this space. Because if you do that as a brand, this will help them to continue innovate, this will help them to bring new products in their collections, this will help them to take risks, source materials, do R&D, try things out. Another important thing is, I call this go for quality. Yeah? So the customer or end consumer will never pay more for a product that is inferior. They won't. They need a product that has a great quality. Yeah? So when you make choices in production, choose quality, because if once the consumer has a feeling that a recycled material is inferior to a virgin one, they won't buy that again. They will be concerned, they will make other choices. Yeah, so we need to make sure that quality is right. A lot of people are always saying, we need the European Union, we need regulators. It won't happen before people are forced to use recycled materials. Yeah, otherwise, it won't be real. I don't believe in that personally, because the moment you have regulatory action, it also means that you limit the amount of innovation in the market. It's a very early market, a very nascent market. So that means you need different technologies, you need different companies working on different solutions. You don't want to force something upon them. And it's important not to wait, maybe in 2025, 6, 7, 8, people will be ready. No, do it right now. And is a lot about expectations or commitments as well. There are a lot of companies out there that depend on the commitments, especially from the brand and retail side. And we've experienced that on our own when we started with our Refibra technology, which is now, I think, 6 years old. When we started that, everybody went crazy. People gave us predictions of thousands of tons of volumes that they're going to buy. It never happened. It never did. Yeah, and it's a problem because people invest money, they invest time, they get capital, they take risks, they employ people, and they do all of that based on expectations. If they are far away from reality, this will hurt kind of a lot of kind of big part of this kind of innovative industry. Yeah? What we also recommend to everyone is to try out different materials, to not wait for, I work with exactly this material, because what you need as a brand, but especially also as a company in the supply chain, you need to make experience with different materials. Once you start working with recycled materials, there is no standard anymore. There is no uniformity anymore. It will be different every time, and it's not something that you can just change an existing process to a new one. You have to innovate, you have to try out a lot of things, you will make mistakes, but those mistakes will allow you to learn. Yeah? So it's important to try out different things. Not just a Lenzing product, not just kind of a cellulosic product, try out really different things. That's what I recommend. Now, sometimes it happens that somebody seems to have found the perfect solution. You know, they offer you something that is really cheap, really sustainable, and is a great quality. Be skeptical about this, because very likely this is not true. Yeah, and I think no need to mention kind of materials and so on and so forth, but it's very hard to really verify the recycled content in a product sometimes. Yeah, so you need to be skeptical if something suddenly seems to work. End of life, so there's a lot of things that you can do with completely virgin products right now. Yeah, the biggest problem that many of the recyclers like Lenzing face is material blends, polyviscose or polycotton blends, polyviscose blends, blends with elastane, and so on and so forth. But the products you bring to market today, of course, they have an influence on the recycling of tomorrow. Yeah, so the choices you make now will influence the recyclability of those products. So what we recommend is that for every product you bring to market right now, even if it's a completely virgin product, think about that product. Who will buy it? Where will it go? Where will it be sold? How will it be worn? How long will it be worn? How frequently? What's the likely path this will go once a person stops using that product? How will that person dispose of the product? Yeah, I think every product that you work with or every product you bring to market, you should have a feeling for what's going to happen to that product. Yeah. Also, don't mistake recycling or circularity for sustainable. Ideally, it should be. A recycled product should be more sustainable, but there is no guarantee for that. Yeah, if you have a recycling product, sometimes you need harsh chemicals. Sometimes you need, long transportation distances from A to B and so on and so forth. So you really need the data. If you think a product is circular or recycled is not enough, ask for the data. Ask until you have a feeling for, yes, I really believe in this product and I really believe it is more sustainable. Trust building with consumers, I think this is really critical. We've done a lot of research a while ago also on how are consumers buying sustainable products, and I think there is a misconception that, we think consumers are paying more for a recycled product. They are not. They aren't paying more for a recycled product. Most consumers, they don't. Yeah, and they won't buy a recycled product because it's a recycled product. They will buy it despite it's a recycled product. They are going to buy it as they would buy a new product, but they're not going to pay more or buy more because it's recycled. And I'm talking about the average consumers here. Yeah? So of course there will be people who are ready to pay more, but this will be a fraction of the market. This will not solve the waste problem. Yeah, of course also look at other options. Yeah, feeling that we sometimes get in conversations is that I don't care about making a good thing here or there. I need a recycled product, otherwise I don't believe it's a sustainable product. And that's not true. Even within existing product portfolios, completely virgin products, there are a lot of things you can change easily. They will also come at a cost, but they will make your footprint much lower. Yeah, so I always recommend to think and talk about circularity and recycling, but don't only focus on that. And last but not least, don't or look at and experience and enjoy the journey. Yeah, there is no end goal of circularity or recycling. It's a slow journey, and a slow journey means that there will be detours. It will take longer. You need patience. You need to go back a step and then forward 2 steps. So you have to try to kind of understand that this is a path that you're going on. It's not a destination. Yeah? So you need to enjoy a bit the journey. Yeah? So those are some of the recommendations that we give, practical actions that can be done right now. Now, what is Lenzing doing? And this is not a presentation about Lenzing, but to also give you a feeling for where are we heading, where are we going. We have started our Refiba technology in 2017. It's a technology where we, instead of using wood as an exclusive raw material, we also use textile waste from different sources. As we started this in 2017, and since then developed the technology. And this is how it looks like. And so we started in 2017, and what we did is we started working with very basic, simple materials, cotton scraps, something that is reliable, where you know the composition, where you know the color, where the variety is not so big, it's uniform. And what we are doing on the raw material side over time is to develop this technology so we can use different materials, polycotton blends, colored fabrics, even fabrics with appliances on it, with zippers on it, even complicated constructions, elastane blends, and so on and so forth. So as a company like Lenzing, what we need to do is this. We cannot develop this right now. Yeah, we need to have a roadmap to think about, okay, what's the next step that we can go? But to allow us to do that, we need to start somewhere. Yeah, so in our case, we need to start here. We need to start small. 1 fiber, low percentage of recycling share. And then over time develop and build up this product portfolio. So now we are in 2023, and what we've launched a couple of weeks ago is recycled content in our viscose fibers, EcoVero viscose fibers, for those of you who are aware of our fibers. So this is what we started at, and over time we will develop, on the one hand, the flexibility of using different sources, but also the amount of waste and the fiber portfolio where we are using this waste in. Yeah. So this is our journey, and it looks quite similar for many innovators and many raw material companies like Lenzing. But it's important really to think about how do we get from here to here. And to get from here to here, we really need to talk about cost more often, and we need to get acceptance for that additional cost more often. Yeah, because only if we go for the good, sustainable option, only this will allow companies like us and other companies to continue innovating and eventually bring costs down. So if you're interested to talk more about circularity, recycling, feel free to talk to me or my colleagues who are also here today, or join us at our booth, or reach out. I think there's a lot of experiences to share. Yeah, and that's it for me. So if you have any questions, feel free. I'm happy to share the microphone. If not, then reach out afterwards. Okay? Thank you.